Good evening everyone and welcome to the Finance and Audit Committee on Wednesday the 9th of July 2025 at 6:30 p.m. I'd like to just remind everyone if you could put your phones on aeroplane mode. I would check mine. Thank you. I would then like to start with public participation. We don't have anyone in the public today. So I can go to two. Apologies for absence is what are Councillor Crotty, he's at a wedding today. Councillor Winter has another meeting. Councillor Ruston hasn't got childcare tonight. And I believe that's no one else. Going on to three, so to receive declarations...
Sorry, Chair, we have to accept those apologies.
Oh, sorry, okay.
I would like to challenge one of those apologies because I don't believe it to be valid, and it's the same person who hasn't been to a meeting yet. I don't think we should accept that as an apology.
Okay.
This has been going on, and unless we record, an apology would just be sent and that they won't turn up. Bearing in mind that when the election of people onto committees, someone stood down for this person to be on this committee.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll do a vote on that then. So I'll start with Councillor Crotty. So do I have? Can I have a proposer to accept Councillor Crotty's absence, please? Okay, and a seconder. I'm going to second it because I have seen him today. He is at a wedding, so I do need to just make everyone aware of that. Okay, and then could I have a vote, please? Everyone for that. So, okay. Okay. Anyone against? Okay. Anyone abstaining? Okay. Okay. And then for Councillor Winter, could I get a proposer, please? Okay. And a seconder? Councillor L seconding. And a vote for that, please? Okay. Anyone against? Anyone abstaining? Okay. And then Councillor Ruston, do I have a proposer? Councillor Fagrove, seconder. Councillor L, and a vote for that, please. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Right, so I'll move on from that. Chair's announcements. I do have one. If there are any questions on the actual budget, what we've got, the RFO isn't here today to answer any questions, so that will be put into the minutes. Thank you. And then I will move on to 5, which is to approve the minutes of the meeting of the 11th of June 2025. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Wilson, a seconder. Councillor L, and could I have a vote on that, please? Yeah, carried. Thank you. Right, I'll move on to 6, which is governance and accountability. So I will start with any questions for A. Okay, thank you. Any questions for Appendix C, which is B? And that's very confusing, but yes, Councillor Wilson.
We may not know, bearing in mind what you said, is that could I just ask the actual year to date under Mayor's expenses? I'm making an assumption that 1,317 was the mace bearer's hat and something else.
Let's see if I can find that. I can see the mace bearer's hat. I saw that earlier, actually. We will answer that if that's okay in a minute.
Yes, yeah,
Thank you.
fine with that. Thank
Okay.
you.
And then moving on to 6C, do we have any questions on that? Which is Appendix D. All our payments are there. Okay, can I move on? And I'll move on to 6D, and that is Appendix E. Any questions on that, please? Okay, thank you. Do I have a proposer for these, please? Okay, Councillor Brago, propose. Seconder, please.
Sorry, can I just
Yeah.
ask a question about the earmark reserved for the public toilets? Is that that's the balance, is it, of the original £150,000 that we charged residents the year before last, in case we took them, as opposed to the EMR 330, which is the balance of the money that we were going to spend on the refurbishment?
Is this on Appendix D or E? Sorry.
E. Earmark reserves.
Okay. I won't answer it, I won't know the answer,
No,
I'm afraid, so. But that will be in the minutes again.
Okay, because I'm sure that we paid out a large chunk to the company last month as a deposit on the work that they were doing, and that doesn't appear on here, that's all. I just wanted clarity over it.
That's fine, I'm sure our offer will be able to answer that. So, no,
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
No, not from me.
Okay, so Councillor Brago proposing? Yeah. And do I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor L. Can I have a vote, please, on that?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
Apologies.
Thank you. So I'm going to move on, is that okay? Yeah. So I'm going to move on to 7, which is grants and donations. And that is just to note that our grants and donations policy will follow at the next meeting, which we spoke about at the last meeting. So that will be done by our town clerk, and then we will we'll agree it, hopefully, and then that will go to full council after that. So B is to consider any grants from Appendix F, which I'm sure you'll have. I'm sure you've all had a look at that. So I would just like to say that obviously we have some grants here, and we have said that the larger grants up to £10,000, which is in our policy at the moment, not what we spoke about last month, but this is our policy that we currently have. So that's up to £10,000, and we have said that's in May, September and January. But obviously that's up to councillors here if they would like to consider those, or if we do say that obviously we've said that it's in September, and then we can come back to them in September if they apply again. But again, I'm just letting everyone know that is in our policy. So could we discuss that rather than going through every single one? Are we going to look at these, or would anyone like to discuss or talk about that, please? If we are going to accept them, or if we're going to ask them to come back to us in September. Yes, so
I can't hear that.
So at the moment, it's £10,000 is May, September and January, and they can ask every month. We have £1,000 through the year. So I think it was worked out at the time was £12,000, £1,000 a month. But obviously that's up to us how we deal with that. So £1,000 can be asked for every month, and over £1,000 is basically May, September and January, which is in our policy. Okay, so if anyone would like to discuss that, and then we can move on if we are going to talk about that separately, or if we're just going to say, Councillor Eric, can I? Yeah.
If you're looking at the policy, most of these grants shouldn't even be viable to come through to this stage, as the policy doesn't adhere to the policy.
Okay.
Also, some of them haven't got the correct paperwork either for these grants.
Yeah, we've seen that. There's some saying there's no bank statements or paperwork. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the accounts is from 2023 as well. I mean.
Okay, so that is for that is for us to decide basically that are we going to consider them, seeing that we only, we're only meant to be considering grants over £1,000 in May, September and January.
That's obviously the wrong
Councillor
time.
Wilson?
I think the difficulty is we've set a precedent previously by discussing grant applications that are around the 10,000 in a month that we don't discuss them. In particular, this building, we discussed it at least once. It went to the next meeting and it was outside of those parameters. So we have done it before, and it's very difficult when you, in effect, don't stick to the guidelines of the process. So that's the risk to us, that they could then come back and refer back to that and say, well, you discussed that one, why haven't you discussed this one?
I do agree, but that is why we had our meeting last month and discussed.
Yeah, but that's not in place at the moment.
It's not in place, but that was the whole point of that.
Yes,
And
it
then
was.
from that, then we wanted to sort of,
Yeah.
I don't know what the words would be, but lay the law down and say that, you know, we need to stick to what we're doing, whereas we haven't in the past, and I agree. But I think from now is the whole point of our new policy that's coming in, is that we should stick to it. Councillor Howe?
Thank you, Chair. Could I propose that before we start going through these or talking about it any longer, could we put it to the vote to firstly see if we'd like to review any that are above £1,000?
Yeah.
Tonight.
So,
I have a bit of an
Councillor
issue with
Wilson.
that, because one of these will need the funding before the new process goes to full council, and therefore that they're trying to set up may not happen if it isn't processed tonight and told either yes or no.
okay, so shall I, rather than going around the table, shall we just discuss the first one and accept it, or that'll probably be easier then? I'll do it that way then.
I think it's probably the only way you...
Yeah, I'll do it that way. So let's just do how we do. So if I could start with Bexhill and Rother Homeless Unity Group. We've seen what the grant is, what they'd like the grant for. Any discussion on that, please? Councillor Braithwaite?
I'm looking at the total of all the grants, and for this one specifically, I think it's been asked for at the wrong time. Whether they come back at the right time, that's beside the point. I think gone are the days of us giving away that sort of money to any one person, and certainly we're looking at £19,000 there if these are all to be agreed. I like the way that two of these are not for rounded up sets of money, like, you know, £499.90 and £392.04. And the reason they're like that is in line with what we said and what will come up in our new policy, that these have been costed, and that's why they're strange amounts, because that is what they need. So with the one at the top, like I say, it's well over, really, it's at the wrong time, and it is well over the kind of money that we can give away anymore.
Councillor Hill?
I think when it comes to that one, there's just a few red flags. One, obviously, it being over £1,000. Secondly, they've got operating costs here, such as staffing costs and venue hire, which go down as day-to-day running costs, which we don't agree to for our policy. It is a grant, unfortunately, like Councillor Blagrave said, it's just at the wrong time for the wrong reasons, even though it's a fantastic group and does fantastic work. It just doesn't agree to our policy at the moment, and it is just a little bit too much, which will leave other groups and other people that are requiring grants low and maybe even unable to apply for any after we spent all the money.
Would actually leave us with £4,500 for the rest of the
Yeah.
year. Okay, that's fine. Anyone? Councillor Wilson?
I observe that we've already given them two grants in July 22 and June 24. Both of those were for £500. So I'm surprised they've asked for 10,000, and generically this is for running costs, which is against our policy.
Okay.
It looks to me like they've asked for 10,000 to replace
So
the
could
whole.
Could I just...
Can I just say one more?
Yeah, Councillor Braithwaite.
What I'd like to say is we're not in the business of disappointing people. You know, we offer grant money, but the idea that such a huge amount of money is asked for, personally, you know, I would like to say that if you are going to apply for a grant, for whatever reason, and many people would like to, you can't have an idea that is going to cost somebody else some money. You've got to essentially have all the basics covered. And then the idea is that you come to people like us that have a grant budget, and we can see what we can add to that for you, which won't break our bank. So I would just like to say that for anyone in the future that's looking at taking a grant, and just to say that we take it very seriously, but there are some things that we cannot do. Okay.
I would just like to add, if that's a council there, and then I'm just going to add one.
I'd also just like to state that HUD has a shortcoming of roughly £30,000 a year, which they were receiving from Rother, which I believe Rother has pulled. The more and more of these grants that Rother start to pull, the more and more this might start a trickle-down effect towards us. And unfortunately, there's a sort of sums that a parish council won't be able to cover, and there will be shortcomings. So I think a lot of these groups will have to start preparing themselves for this, because Rother won't cover it, and we unfortunately just can't.
Yeah. So what I'd like to add to that, what you're saying, it does connect to that, is that if you look at the last few months of the grants that we've been asked for, we would be looking at over the year between £200,000 and £300,000 for grants if we were to agree to every single one that comes in. So as you say, that we just wouldn't be able to do it. If we look at other councils of what they're giving, we are quite fair with what we've agreed to set as our budget to other town councils and parishes, and we just wouldn't, we just wouldn't be able to do that amount that we've been asked for the last 3 to 4 months. Councillor Wilson, I'm going to take it to a vote, if that's okay.
I think I may potentially disagree with the Chair. We can do it. We can put £404,000 in our precept, and that would be for full council to decide that. My real concern is, with the future, there's an awful lot of voluntary groups in Bexhill that get funding from the local authority, which will disappear. We have to be really aware, as a town council, we should be somehow trying to support community groups. If not, these community groups will disappear. So we've somehow got to try and educate some of these organisations to help them and prepare for the future. Otherwise, they will fold if there's no one else around to financially support them. And that would be a discussion, I think, that will probably go in December-ish, when the precept is agreed at full council, because we can do it. Make no bones about it, as a town council we can add 300,000 to our precept and charge residents for it. So would residents want to have more support for community organisations than what we currently can do within our agreed budget for this year? And I'm not capable to answer that, but we could well get challenged if we're not supporting if other grant funding disappears, which it more than likely will do. So that's a bigger discussion than this committee, when the committee put forward to full council what our precept requirements is for next year. So I think we need to think about the future, and it might not even be next year, it might be the year after, but clearly we've seen a massive surge in requests, and they're all from very valid organisations that will struggle in the next couple of years if they don't find funding somewhere else. And when you look at the list, they've gone to Sussex Community Foundation already, they've come to us, they're a third of their budget short at this 10,000 that they're asking, because their budget for a year is 30,000. So they've only got 2/3 of what they require, which means they're either going to shut one of the 3 days or it will fold. That's the implications in the decisions that we have to make, potentially. So I'm just putting out there that we can do it, and as a full council we should decide around the strategy of how we want to support local organisations in Bexhill, rather than just saying black and white, yes or no. Just putting it out there.
I think we probably, looking at what's going on with overall government and everything, there may be some more opportunity for us. I don't know at the moment, but there may be an opportunity in the near future, hopefully, that we do get some sort of grant from the government to be able to help these organisations. But at the moment, we don't have that, and we know what we've got, and we have to go. We have to look at other councils as well and see what they're doing. And to have, as I said, £300,000 to give away for grants, I don't think that's doable. But maybe it's something we can look into and have a look. I also think, and this is very personal, but the world at the moment, as we all know, is changing, and there will be people out there that have to take cuts, and
Yeah.
we will lose some things, and
We will.
that is, you know, I own businesses in the town, and the increases in price, and you know, everything like that. I see all of that, and I'm afraid, you know, yes, we've got some great organisations, but sadly, we may have to see some of those organisations go if that's what happens, because it is tight out there.
It is.
And I can see that myself. As I said, I've got businesses,
Yep.
but hopefully there will be some sort of grant, maybe a change in what we get from our main government, but at the moment there isn't. But yes, I do agree with what you're saying as well. So I'd like to take it to a vote, unless Councillor Brager had a hand up. Would you like to?
I was only going to say, after listening to all that, you know, to say yes, we can do it. We can't do it because we are using other people's money to do this. We're doing the best that we can. We've given out many grants. We've helped many people, and we're happy to do that. But these big amounts of money we're being asked for are becoming quite impossible to do. Everything, like you say, everything out there is changing. People don't have money, associations don't have money, things are folding left, right and centre. We can't be held accountable for that. We're doing our best with the money we've got, and we must do this in a sensible way, not raise the money that we're going to give out. That's not what we do. We're already in our next policy going to make it a much fairer system with what we actually do give out, and I'm happy to see that coming in. So, you know, we're trying to do our best.
Just to come back on that, it's not the word can't. We can, should full council decide to do it. Is
I
my
understand what
argument.
Councillor Wilson
I'm not
comes from.
saying
we can.
we shouldn't,
We should, yeah.
but we can if full council agree it.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, okay, so that's been discussed. I'd like to bring it to a vote, please. So, are we going to accept? I've lost my words now. So, would we like to vote for this? So, do I have a proposer for this, please, to vote for it? No. Okay. Thank you. And then I'll move on to community supporters. I'll let the room discuss that, if that's okay. I'll start with Councillor Peters.
Let's just discuss earlier. They haven't submitted any paperwork, so it shouldn't even be put in front of us. It should just be scrubbed off and put back, or asked for the correct paperwork.
Councillor Eyre?
Again, no statements, no supporting paperwork. It's for the increase in running costs, which again doesn't adhere to our policy. I mean, something like this, if someone was to say, look, the running costs have increased, we need to make some money, maybe we're put on a raffle, we're put on an event and we need £500 to do that, and they're trying to do that for themselves, and maybe that would be something we'd look into, probably would be. But the way that this is being sent over to us and the way that it doesn't adhere to our policy, I'd again like to say that I'm pretty much against that £5,000.
Thank you. And also, we have said that it's over £1,000 again. Anyone? Councillor Wilson?
I think it's a sad indictment that they support 81 children, and because we don't have enough money, potentially some of those children won't receive the support that they could have. It's a great organisation, community supporters. It's something that the town should be very proud that Lindsay White and her team do, but with regret the paperwork isn't complete. But I think it's a shame because those 81 children now maybe not get the support they could have done.
And all the organisations are amazing, to be honest, but
they
it's
are.
just that we just can't. We have to look at our budget and we have to be realistic, and that is why we're making changes.
Yeah.
You know, I know we're still in our current form, but that is why we've had to look at it and last month make changes because of this. That is quite sad, but
I mean, I think if the paperwork had been correct, we could have looked at giving a smaller sum that we could have done, but I'm not happy to do that with the paperwork not being present.
okay.
Could I just ask through you, Chair, to the clerk, there's no reason why they can't come back with amended paperwork in the future with feedback from this application, is there?
Yeah.
They can do that. I think that should be the feedback to some of these if it's not complete. Have another go, try again in with the advice that they may listen to on the video.
I don't know if we can do this, our clerk will know, but would it be worth also just mentioning, if we're going back to organisations, just to let them know that we do only have, you know, quite limited funds at the moment. That I mean, after tonight, I don't know, but at the moment we're at £14,563 left to spend. So I don't know if it's worth. Can I ask that question to the clerk?
Yeah. If you want to vote for me to let them know, then yeah.
So
I can let them know.
I don't know if any other councillors agree with that or not. Just
Yeah.
to
I would propose that we should be doing that.
go back to them, but
Yes.
also let them know that we
Yes.
have limited funds, so
Yes.
that they know what to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we set expectations when
Yeah.
we feed back to them.
Yeah.
So if that needs a motion, I'll propose that motion.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Peters. And what was the motion? So we.
That feedback be provided to applicants, which includes our current budget position.
Okay. And that you don't need us to put that in motion about going back to them and just saying if we could have the paperwork. It doesn't need to be in the motion.
I can just I'll just let them know why it wasn't approved and to say you can resubmit for the next
But
meeting.
the funds are limited.
But the funds are limited.
Okay, that's
And
fine.
there
Thank
is
you.
a ceiling on what we can give out anyway, obviously.
There is, yes. It's £1,000 at the moment, and actually our next meeting will be in September anyway, so that will be our higher grants.
If,
Sorry, can I just have a vote? I didn't get a vote.
yeah, before the vote,
Yeah, Councillor.
if it's going through as a motion, I'd also like to add to it, to show our budget, or to say how the funds are limited and how much we have, and also how long we still have with that budget intact, so 3 months, 4 months, 6 months.
We don't actually know, to be honest, because that could change at the next.
Isn't it every...
No, because we're changing our policy, aren't we?
The budget isn't actually changing.
Right,
the
it's
budget-
just
the
Okay,
budget-
so yes, sorry. Okay, that's fine.
I'm happy to have that in the amendment.
Yeah. So could I have a vote?
How would we word that, by the way? Sorry.
Just add on to my words that I read out,
Yeah.
and to include in the
The time
period
frame or
is-
the
is- yeah.
period.
So could I have a vote on that, please? Thank you. Okay. The next one is Flatland Projects, CIC Beach and Road Studios. Again, that is for £4,000. I'll open the room up for discussion. Who would like to? Councillor Peters?
Again, just the accounts are from 2023. I don't understand why you've given us the accounts for 2023.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Blakerow?
It's also over £1,000. So.
Okay. Anyone else like to discuss with that? Or that?
I'd like to say something, if I may. I'm not expressing a non-pecuniary interest, but I went as mayor to a meeting that the applicant arranged with various other artistic organisations in Bexhill, and they have been challenged by their landlord, or the district council, to increase the awareness of the art sector in Bexhill. And I will be putting a motion forward for next full council to have an external representative to be a part of that group, because we all know that over the last 3, 4, 5 years the art scene in Bexhill has grown significantly. There's lots of small studios cropping up. There's one in London Road, there's the Flatlands, there's various art organisations, but no one's pulling it all together. And what this grant is about is they want to do a weekend event, tag it on to something that's going on to the Delaware, to potentially transport people from the Delaware round to the various different art areas within Bexhill, to spread the word of what's going on in Bexhill around the art world, including Wave Arts, which we work with quite closely. And these they have some money, and it's going to be a lot more than what they're asking for. So in effect, we should look at this as an event rather than a project. Because if this works in September, they will do it every year, and it potentially has the opportunity to bring a lot more people into Bexhill. So they've tagged it onto something else where there will be people coming here to try and encourage them, particularly with London Road, which is there's about 3 shops down there that are involved in this, and they're trying to make it, they're trying to, regenerate London Road, which, it needs help. And the people that are involved in it, they've come over here from St Leonard's. They're basing themselves in Bexhill because Bexhill's reputation in the art world is growing year on year. And they want to do this, and they need a grant to enable it to happen. If it's not agreed tonight, the likelihood is it won't happen in September. So, and that's why I flagged this one earlier on, because all the rest we can agree it if we do agree it at any point in time, but this one is time critical. And I think, albeit I accept what Councillor Peter says, it's an old bank account, but they are established. They've been established now there for 3 or 4 years. They're a tenant of Rother District Council. Both Flatlands and Rother have spent a lot of money, and if you've been up there, I don't know who has been up there, it's an amazing setup. They've got 3 units within, just opposite where Screwfix is based. Other DIY shops are available, but they happen to be opposite Screwfix. And it's an amazing setup, and Ben is really passionate about what he's trying to do. But this is difficult because it's outside of the parameters, but we have in the past overridden parameters, and we have that ability to do it, but this is time sensitive.
Okay. Councillor Bragwell?
I think it's better not to break our own rules and override things, and as I say, this is for way over £1,000. And also, the bank account being old when they've been established for 2 or 3 years. If I applied for that grant, that would be the latest bank account I could show them. So for me, I'm not happy to do that one either. Sorry.
I would be interested to see how many people that would actually bring into town.
That's the issue.
They'd have numbers,
Yeah.
because we support events, quite a few events, with that sort of amount of money,
Yeah.
but they actually bring thousands of people into town. It's quite a lot of money, and I'm not saying it won't, but I'd be very interested to see how many people it would actually bring into the town.
If I can come back, Chair, that's the unknown until they've done it. They do link in with the Towner Art Gallery, and when the Towner do events, they'll bring in 20,000 into Eastbourne, and I'm not suggesting it's going to bring in that sort of quantity, but until they do it, they're not going to know. I think it's quite sad in a way, because we talked about splitting our budget in the future. It's got to go to full council, that you have a budget for events and a budget for activities, if you like, to purchase things, and this is an event. So if we had the new policy in place, we would be able to discuss this, but we haven't got the new policy in place because the numbers would have allowed us to, I think my calculation last month was we could have the support of 6 events at £4,000 each within our budget, and this is for £4,000. So, and to put something on, including transport from the Delaware, and everything else associated with it, with websites, mail outs that they'll do to all their contacts to get people into the town. There's quite a large cost involved in this, and they are relatively small but looking to expand rapidly. It's a shame that Ben's not here tonight, because he would be able to explain it much better than what I possibly can, but I was just really I'm not an arty person, but I was inspired by the enthusiasm, and there was a dozen people around the table, including Councillor Timpey, because it's under her portfolio at Rother. And I just think it's something that we're saying that we're not going to necessarily fund all these things because they can't make any money. And then we've got somebody coming along who says, I really want to do this, I just need some help to try it to see whether it will work. And we're not going to support them. So who are we going to support in this town if we're not going to... And I just think it's sad if we just rule it out because of a bank account when they are reputable, they're tenants of a district council. I've met with them all. I was invited there, and just because we can go back to them and say, send us a more recent bank statement. Does it say the recent bank statement, or does it just say a bank statement? I haven't looked at the process. but everything else they've ticked, and it is an event. And that's what we talked about last month, was talking about events in a different way to other grant requests.
Okay.
And this is the only one that we're looking at tonight that is going to fund an event. So it's different to the other four. And we should look at it differently because that's what we chose to do last meeting.
Thank you. I'd like to just say one thing with it. I understand where you're coming from, but again, it is a straight £4,000 and there's no cost really improvising that, which in our new policy we've asked for costings to be forwarded, whereas this is quite a straight 4,000 again.
They wouldn't know that though.
They have actually broken down what they want it for, but it is broken down £4,000.
Thank you.
But I still don't think. I think they should stick.
I'll take councillor out and then I'll come back to.
I appreciate your passionate pitch there, Councillor. It's actually added to my passion for it a little bit as well, to be honest. The only thing that really holds me back is the fact that 4,000 there and a potential just under 2,000 for the rest of them would be 6,000 gone from our budget tonight, which leaves us £8,500 till the end of the year. And however great this organisation may be, that also leaves us in a position to maybe not be able to help an organisation that will pop up in 2, 3, 4 months' time, which would also upset me. I would possibly, however, if anyone would like to pitch it in that way, maybe be okay with looking at a smaller amount for that organisation, if it would help them. I understand you're saying we'll go back to them and ask for more paperwork, but I don't think we can do that. We've got tonight, like you said, it's time sensitive. It just is really the fact that it might put a hindrance on something that we may be able to give out of the grant later on.
Okay. Councillor Bago?
Something I'd like to show the people that apply for grants is that we are fair. And it is hardly fair when the second applicant didn't give the right paperwork in, and we said no, right there, because it breaks our rules and our terms. This paperwork isn't right either, with an old bank account, and no matter which way you look at it, because, you know, yes, I mean, probably, you know, I would have gone with a lesser figure too, but it's no good saying yes to someone that's done that and then no to somebody else. At this point, I think it would be unfair to do that. That's my reason. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this to a vote, please. Do I have a proposer for this? Okay, do I have a seconder?
What is it? What is the...
So it's a vote whether we're going to give the 4,000, or if anyone would like to add a lesser amount. It's up to you. Councillor Wilson.
I just want to say that we should treat this one different to the other four because this is for an event. We should do, because we spoke about events last month.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, but again, as Councillor Blakeover said, that we've said no to someone that sent the wrong paperwork in.
Okay.
And we've also...
Even though that wasn't an event.
It wasn't, but it's still wrong paperwork.
Yeah, I accept that.
We use that as a... But
There's
I'm
no
just saying this is
criteria
obviously,
for
you know...
It's sad.
But, so, I'm going to ask again, sorry. So I have a proposer, which is Councillor Wilson. Do I have a seconder? Okay, that's... Thank you. Okay, moving on to Norman's Bay Resident Association. So they have sent bank statements, accounts, and their grant is for purchase of a generator and lights to use for events. Anyone like to discuss that? Councillor Braithwaite?
I think that's perfectly reasonable. It's showing that they need a couple of items which, you know, they can do with a bit of help with, and I think that's exactly what our remit is, to look up if they need help. They obviously do for that. They've also costed it. Is this one costed? Yes. Over there. Yeah, I think they've done everything right, and I don't have a problem with £500. Almost, it's £490, whatever.
Okay.
That's the sort of grant that I'm happy to give out, where everything's correct, and they need a bit of help.
Thank you. Anyone else like to? Councillor Wilson?
I'd like to ask a question under item 10 of their application. It says one of our yearly events. So they've had them before without this. and now they want a generator and lights. So they've had them before, and it says one of.
You don't
You
know,
mean-
maybe their equipment's broken or anything like that?
Sorry, I'm going through the
Sorry,
check.
do you mean the...
It says under item 10,
Yeah,
one of our yearly events is our Summer Love Fest.
yeah,
The social committee are working to make this a sustainable event which will be funded by table ticket sales and profit from the raffle, food and drink sales. Great stuff. We're in our second year, so so they've already done it once and believe that by buying our own generator and lights, which they've detailed, will help. And they only want part of it. So they're in the second year, so they've done it once already.
but they may have rented it before, or could be that it's broken, the one they've got, or... I mean, I would say this is what our grants policy is for, is to help with these sorts of items. They could have come and asked for £1,000, they've asked for £499.90. I don't really have a problem with the... To be honest. Councillor Peter?
Yeah, just like I say, it might be because they've done this event before that they've realised they need a generator and the lights. So that might be the reason why. I think it's a fairly reasonable application.
Councillor L?
I agree with Councillor Peters, and I'm more than happy to fund this amount. However, that does raise a very good question, or a very good starting point for our following policy, where they can openly and explicitly explain what their situation is, what their reasoning is behind it. And once they've put that breakdown on paper, especially with these sorts of numbers where they're exact and they know what they need and they know why they need it, it does help us make those decisions as well. So I thought exactly what you thought, Councillor Peters, was they've done it once before, now they know the problems, now they know what they actually need, or like Councillor Lucan said, they rented one maybe. But I think explaining that in the future grant policy, what we have in our future grant policy, that explanation will be crucial.
Yeah, so we've got the answer what Councillor Wilson's asking, basically.
Just to come back on that, to be precise in accordance with other ones, the two items that they're saying they're asking for is only 419.92, but they're asking for 499.90.
Just trying to work out if that's with VAT then.
They wouldn't be paying VAT, would they?
Yeah,
That's what
you
they've
would.
declared on eBay. They're the costs. Other auction sites are available. They're the costs, so you wouldn't have that on top of that. I apologise. There's another. Sorry, rewind that and I'll withdraw that. There's another figure of 79.98.
Okay.
That's for the light, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you've got your hand up, Councillor Brago.
So having done events myself, I can tell you that most people start by hiring lock, stock and barrel for the first event. And then next year you try to see where savings can be made, and to buy your own piece of equipment, I certainly know with generators it's better to buy your own, and then you don't have to pay some of these big costs that they bring. So I see that as they're helping themselves, which is a good thing, and I don't have any problem with helping them out.
I think they're nice items to help the community have some events, and they've got lights and they've got a generator. So I'm going to take it to a vote, if that's okay. Do I have a proposer for this, please? Councillor Brago proposing, seconder, Councillor L, and could I have a vote on that, please? Okay, Harry, thank you. Right, moving on to Bexhill-on-Sea. They would like £500 for hiring Robin Reeves Dragster for the 20th anniversary of Bexhill-on-Sea motoring. I think this was one that was there, I believe, 20 years ago, maybe longer. I actually remember that. A bit younger back then. Anyone would like to talk about that, please? Councillor Blakegrove?
Well, it's obviously not something that they desperately need, but because of the anniversary point in this, that they're obviously trying to bring something of relevance to it. And I don't think the cost is extortionate. I think it will add to, they do some pretty good work, Bexhill-on-Sea, so I don't have a problem with that one either.
I don't think anyone else wants that. Councillor Wilson?
I don't want people who may watch this video to say that I'm against anybody who is applying for grants. I'm not. But this organisation does amazing work in Bexhill, and they select 4 charities. So we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that actually if we do agree this, it will actually just give another £500 to those 4 charities that they choose. Because they have enough money in their bank anyway, because they make a lot of money, and this year they hope to get over £200,000 that they've raised in the 20 years that they've been going. So if we didn't fund this, they would still do it because they have money in the bank for this type of thing, but it would mean it would be £500 less to be distributed at the end of it to the 4 charities they've chosen. So in effect, it would still happen if we didn't give them the 500, but it would show that the town council is supporting one of the biggest fundraising events that there is in the town, which is the Bexhill 100. But we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that, in effect, we will be giving £125 of town council money to 4 other organisations, which I have had a beef about since I've been a town councillor, that we give to somebody who then gives on to somebody else. So we lose control over where our funds are going because they distribute it. If you take the Bexhill Horse Show, who give money out to 2 charities, they didn't come and ask for any money for anything. So that's up to them because they raise the money, they distribute it. Bexhill 100 have never asked for any money because they raise enough and they give out 10-15,000 to charities, which is brilliant. And we've seen it all on social media with the cheques, etc. But we mustn't lose sight of the fact that if we do agree this, and I'm undecided, in effect we will be given £125 of taxpayers' money to 4 other organisations.
Okay, thank you. I think that was discussed last meeting as well.
Yeah, it happens all the time, and I will say it all the time that that's the decision that we're making. We're in effect, you could argue, we're subbing out our funds to to 4 other organisations in this case.
Yeah, I do understand where you're coming from, definitely with that, and we do have to remember that, as you said as well, that Bexhill 100 is probably one of the biggest events that we have in town, and it brings a lot of business, something amazing for the people of the town. Does raise a lot of money for charity as well.
It does.
And they don't come and ask us for huge amounts of money, which other events, which also give to charities, do ask for a lot more money sometimes for those events. But yeah, you have said all of that as well. So I'll ask Councillor Brayberg.
And they have specifically said what they want that money for, and it's not to give out to other people. It is specific, and I think that's why. That's what we're about. It would be nice for Bexhill Town Council to be able to say we provided that bit for them. They do more than their bit in this town and the people of this town, and I think it's a good thing.
I just want to labour the point, if I can, Chair, that they have specifically detailed what they want it for. They would still do it because they have money to do it. So the end result will still be that the £500 that we'll pay half of that towards will just put an extra £500 in the pot at the end of it.
Yeah.
All of us around the table must be aware of that, because that's what in event happens.
I would like to just add, before I ask questions, is that if we do go for this, it would be nice to maybe ask that we have something on the dragster just to say paid for by Bexhill Town Council, which I think would be quite nice if we agree to giving that money. I'll ask Councillor Aaron and then I'll come to you, Councillor Peters, and then I just want to get a vote on this one.
Great mind think alike, Chair, because that was actually what I was going to suggest as well. And also, me as a councillor sitting here looking at this, I'm looking at giving £500 for Robin Reed's dragster that's going to Bexhill 100. If there's going to be extra money left over to go in the pot, and that's going to go over to charity, fantastic, even better, rather than take it away from charity if it's going to be there. Obviously, in this case, some cases where it does go directly away and not used for anything, I understand that completely. But from my point of view, and I'm staring at it now, £500 for the Robin Reed's dragster, I'm very, very happy to do that. However, I would like to be able to put Bexhill Town Council's name in front of that, definitely, if possible.
Okay, Councillor Peters.
Yeah, I was just going to concur with Councillor Wilson. I've had it highlighted down the exact same thing he was going to say about the donations.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Anyone else like to?
Could we ask, through you, Chair, could we ask them, or could we say, oh, I don't know if it's the right thing to do, so I'll give you this £500 if I can have my name on it. That may not be the right thing to do, but would it be possible to ask the question?
Okay.
If you approve the grant, I can say to them, on the condition that the town council and the fact that they've paid towards this is featured. Obviously, if you defer the decision until I get an answer on that, that's fine, but it won't be considered again until September. So it's up to you whether you want to approve it and I ask the question, or say, but the committee wants this, or you defer it until after the event and I ask the question first.
Because this isn't to praise the town council, it's to praise the work of the residents who are paying their council tax, which they've got something there for themselves that has been done for them.
Yeah. So I think it would be nice to ask the question. I think if we do agree it, that would just be nice to say the council has said it would be great if you could maybe add something there, just saying funded by Bexhill Town Council, from our residents or something like that. Just
It's not unreasonable.
From our residents, for our residents.
Or for our residents, or from, yeah. I think that would be quite nice to have on there. So I'm going to go for a vote on this. Do I have a proposer?
Can I just, before you, just for clarity, there isn't a bank statement, but there's a club accounts. Is that part of the process that they can do either or? Because we don't have a bank statement for this. I'm quite happy with the accounts, and if not, we should review our process that they can send a year-end accounts. But we have rejected some because they haven't got bank statements, and this one doesn't have a bank statement.
It says here bank statements.
There is no bank statement, there's a year-end account,
Okay.
which I'm quite
I
happy
think a
with,
year-end account I'd accept.
but it doesn't have a bank statement.
Okay. I mean, I'd personally accept a bank statement.
Okay.
Sorry, end of
I don't
year.
have an issue, but
No,
we
yeah,
have,
I understand. Yeah.
we have thrown some out. Some councillors won't accept anything unless it's complete, and if our process says you have to produce a bank statement, they haven't. But I'm happy with what they provided, and I wouldn't want to throw it out, but we have thrown some out.
Do we have to do all of it, or some of it, or at least one of it?
That's what I don't know.
I think that would be a plus if we accept that. But I would say that.
Maybe something to look into for our policy as
Yeah.
well before it's accepted.
Yeah. But
Would it be
that is
an either or?
Definitely something to look into.
Personally, Chair, I'm quite happy with what they provided, but some around the table have said about being fair, and we have, in fairness, rejected some that haven't provided bank statements, and this one hasn't.
I've got the policy up.
That'd be good.
The following papers must be submitted: a completed application form, an up-to-date set of accounts, a constitution or set of rules, any additional evidence that the organisation considers will support the application.
So it just says
Set of
accounts.
accounts.
Okay,
Up to date.
so that's fine.
Okay.
Fantastic
you.
wording. Whoever put that policy for it, well done.
It can be either or then.
So
Thank
can
you.
I take this to a vote, please? Do I have a proposer? Councillor Lagrove and a seconder. Councillor L. Could I have a vote on that, please? Okay. Anyone against? Anyone abstaining?
And just to clarify, that's me also asking the question about us being featured
Yes.
on there.
Please. Thank you. So I'm going to move on now. So moving on to 8A, which is the Town Council Hub. That will be updated.
Which one is it?
You've got the little commoners.
Sorry.
Before we do this one,
Tick,
I
tick.
just want to state, not an issue, I'm happy to go through with it. We're 10p away from our £1,000 that we say every month.
Well,
10 pennies away out from our £1,000 a month that we spend.
I think we didn't say 1,000 a month. We said 12,000 overall for them, but it didn't have to be.
12,000 overall, 1,000 each month, but we can probably work around that.
Yeah, it wasn't set at 1,000. It was
what
just.
was it asked for?
It was, yeah. I don't think it was set at 1,000. It was up to £1,000
Up to £1,000.
So I don't think we were set at £1,000 a month.
392.
I'll just ask town clerk what that is. I believe that's correct. That we-
I believe it was that
yeah,
each applicant could apply for up to
up to £1,000.
£1,000.
Yeah, it
Okay.
wasn't set at 1,000. And the same with the £10,000 grant.
I thought it was set at 1,000 because
No.
it was my motion back then.
Yeah, we looked at it.
which-
It would be one
Not
grant
that
a
it's a
month.
problem, I
but
just
yeah,
wanted to...
yeah, that's fine. I remember. Yeah, and the same with the 10,000. It was set up to 10,000.
That's
not,
up to 10,000.
Yeah.
but it could be 3 applications for 10, so it could be 30,000. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to the Little Commoners. Would anyone like to speak on that? Councillor Blakegrove?
So I think that committee is made up of all local people. They go out, they do many things, to name a few, litter picking. They do little events to raise money for themselves. They've given us all the correct. Yeah, they've given us everything that we've asked them for, and they have costed it, which is why it is 39204. Obviously, everything's been costed there, so I think that is a worthy thing to give to them.
Anyone else? Councillor L?
Like we said, for the generator and the lights for the Normans Bay Residents Association, this is what we're here for. We're here to grant money for these kinds of small and positive movements in the community, and I'm fully behind that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else like to? Councillor Wilson?
I will say again, they've got £4,000 in the bank and they want £392 from us, and they're sponsoring other things, so have spare cash to sponsor other things. So they are a very wealthy setup for a small organisation. So whether we pay the £392 or not won't make a great deal of difference to them. They do an awful lot of good in Little Common. We've supported them at least twice that I can think of with their, I forget what they're called, the things that they wear with Little Commoners on, and I believe we funded something for the first summer fair that they did at Bordeaux Park, I think it was initially. So we have supported them before, but I do have a difficulty when an organisation has funds, when we've said no to organisations that don't have funds, but they do a lot of good. I am really betwixt and between with this, because they are sponsoring other events as well, and if they didn't have the money to buy these items, why would they be sponsoring other events?
Councillor L?
With the utmost respect, I disagree with that, due to the fact we are an organisation ourselves. We have over £500,000 in our bank account, yet we are looking for extra funds for the Pepsham Play Park, for example. Not because we don't have the funds, but because being able to get grants from somewhere else or funding from somewhere else then opens up the funds that you do have to do even more good. And obviously we are a council, but even though we do have those funds in our account, we're also granting money. I think this is how organisations work. You don't necessarily need to be at zero balance in order to request funding, because having that funding opens up a whole new avenue of opportunities with the money that you do have. And I think that's actually a clever way to run a business or an organisation. You can do it that way.
What I'd like to say about that association is that they started with nothing, and it was just a few people that got together, and straight away they started to do different events, quizzes they do, and as I say, all the other little things. And the money that they've got in the bank, of course you'd hope they'd have some, because they work tirelessly to put some in there. However, it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, and you know, they continue to do their own thing, to put money in there, and they're asking for a little bit of help. You know, this is yes, we've given them a little bit of money before, but it was a little bit, and this is their third time of asking us, and I think it's fair to say that they are a good little organisation, trying hard to help themselves, and this is the essential bit for me. When they work hard to help themselves, we help people that help themselves.
And mathematically, it's 10% of what they've got in the bank, and 10% of what asking for 10% of what you've actually got is a lot of money.
Yeah.
When you look at it
Yeah.
percentage-wise.
Yeah. They're putting that in there themselves, making that little pot of gobble, whatever you want to call it. But That's how it works, isn't it?
Thank you. I do understand where Councillor Wilson's coming from, because obviously all these organisations are great organisations. You know, we've said about the smaller ones that but all of these organisations are really good. They're amazing for our community, but these are the ones that at the moment, I'm afraid, that we can help with. And, you know, I definitely agree with helping if we can, and that's what we're about, and that's what our grants are for. Councillor L.
I'd also like to add, like Councillor Blagrove said, we'd hope that they've got some money in there, because our grant scheme is there to help them with that little extra bit. It's not to get them going, it's not to add all of the money into there. You expect them to come here with a little bit of something that they've managed to do themselves, to stand on their own 2 feet, and our job is to just push it along the way, if we can.
And I think that's a big thing with our grants as well, is to say that yes, we can help, but at the same time, if you are an organisation, you need to do a little bit. I'm not saying that none of these do, obviously they do a lot of work, but you also need to do some of your own work as well, because we just haven't got the budget to do it, I'm afraid. Anyway, would anyone else? Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, can I just come back and say, I'm going to reiterate, I don't want people to believe that I'm against everything. I'm about openness, full awareness of everything associated with grants. You'll notice that I have said a lot tonight, but I've also voted for a lot tonight. So what I say doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to vote against it. I'm just giving extra facts that other people might not see. And they do have a significant amount of money. As I already reiterated, they do a lot of good under the common. I'm not saying they don't, but they have got a lot of money in the bank. Some of these others that we've said no, don't have the same amount. And that they've got that because they have quiz nights regular and they have regular income coming in. Others could do that as well.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree, yeah. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to put that to a vote. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Bragrove, a seconder. Councillor L. And to a vote. Those for, please. Against? Abstaining? Okay, now I can move on, I believe. I think that's everyone. It's the hot weather, that's what's doing it, I think, for me today.
Can I thank you, Chair, for chairing a very robust debate over some very difficult decisions.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to 8A. So to receive May Hub report, that is going to come at the next meeting. And then I'll move on to 9, which is recommendations from committees. There are none. 10 are motions from councillors. There are none. Correspondence and matters for information. There are none. 12, I will start with A. Questions are there. Answers are there. Thank you. So, and then moving to B, to receive questions from councillors and any future agenda items. Do I have any questions? No? Okay, thank you. And then C is to consider any new risks for future mitigation. No, thank you. 13 is an overview of the annual internal control cost of the council. You can all see that, don't need to discuss it. And then 14 is date of next meeting, Wednesday, 10th of September 2025.